Hello there, my name is Toby Jones and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Neil Diamond, one of my favourite performers of all time, if not my probably favourite solo performer of all time, and looking today at not just an album but a whole set of Hot August Night, what I like to call 2.5. We had the famous live album, of course, Hot August Night back in 1972, and then we had this, Love at the Greek, in 77. Followed by the second Hot August Night in 1987, I believe. And then we got this 20 odd years later with the same typecast format, which I very much rate that. Just try and put them like that so you can see. It's in exactly the same font, which I love, that sort of thing. Hot August Night, NYC, which of course is New York City. This one not performed at the Greek Theatre, but rather at Madison Square Garden in August 2008. And the reason I say we're looking at a set today is because we have the 2 CD set, as well as the DVD accompaniment, which is a brilliant accompaniment to the album. Obviously, the first 2 Hot August Night concerts were, to my knowledge, never recorded, or certainly never broadcast. We did get a live broadcast, kind of like a US TV special I've seen of Love at the Greek. I know I've definitely seen that, whether you want to call it infamous or not, Henry Winkler and Helen Reddy performance of Song Sung Blue. So I've definitely seen that. So I think there's possibly, I would guess, I think it was 45 minutes, maybe taking out the Jonathan Livingston Seagull sequence. The issue is with this album, and most particularly the Hot August Night 2 album, is Neil was in his, for want of a better phrase, glitter era. You can see there, and then on the the front of this album, the late 70s and 80s didn't do all that good for Neil Diamond. And in terms of set lists, Love at the Greek, in fairness, is probably a little bit better, focusing solely really on, particularly in the first half of the album, that new album Beautiful Noise, which the tour was in support of. And then going to Hot August Night 2 was some of the later stuff again, with the, I don't want to say cringeworthy, but less than appetising opener. You've got the first Hot August Night with that brilliant prologue building into Crunchy Granola Sweet, and then it's the most cheesy 80s possible entry on Headed for the Future, with the MC, welcome Neil Diamond to the stage, and it very much feels Hollywoodised, and that turns me off from the concert altogether. But on this, you've got some of the later tracks, the jazz singer stuff, September Morn and You Don't Bring Me Flowers, and the likes of I Dreamed a Dream, which, you know, I don't really care for that, to be quite honest, on a Neil Diamond live album. And this is why this is such a happy return, and I'll talk about the set a bit more before I, after I kind of summarise, because yes, at this point in the late 2000s, it's more of a greatest hits set. I think for an artist that's been going for more than 40 years, that's more than understandable. But this was the World Tour 2008, which supported, at the time, Neil's new album, Home Before Dark. Featured a couple of tracks for that. But it was also, I believe, the first tour since this came out a couple of years before as well, 12 songs. So there was some good songs from both of these albums. Just a note before I continue, is that this has got a really nice slipcase, and I'm going to make a couple of points here. That firstly, the artwork on this is so much better than this. Now, you might not be able to see on the video itself, but as somebody who used to design DVD covers for a bit of a hobby, this is quite a nice picture. This picture, which is the CD inside, is quite pixelated, quite low resolution, and I think in the future I might move myself close to the camera because I'm going to outstretch my arms if I'm not careful. But yeah, this is quite a low resolution picture. This one's quite nice, and you get exactly the same on the DVD. And obviously, because the DVD is of a larger resolution, it looks even worse. Maybe not on camera, but to me it does. And that's the end of the DVD cover Photoshop segment of the video. But the point I was coming on to more is that this is, quite apart from the artwork, quite a nice slipcase, when these 2 albums, particularly Home Before Dark, have been damaged a little by the whole digipack situation. You can see that it's bent a little, so it's not quite level, and it's a bit wonky. I mean, admittedly, this is second hand. I didn't own this originally. That's a bit of an annoyance with the digipack format, but I'm going completely off-piste. I wanted this to be a quick review. Never happens with me. But yeah, let's talk about the concert. So this was one of 4 nights at Madison Square Garden. I think this is one full performance, both on the DVD and the CD album, rather than the 4 chopped together. The DVD and the CD are exactly the same. There's no differences. It's a completely the same set list. All that the CD includes is a couple of extra live albums, Lady-O, If You Know What I Mean, and Glory Road. But those weren't from the MSG shows, which makes me feel why they bothered including them. Lady-O from Antwerp, If You Know What I Mean, from Rotterdam, and Glory Road from Columbus a couple of years earlier. Now, maybe because none of those 3 tracks appear on this album. Granted, I really like all 3 tracks, so the edition itself is okay. But for me, being a bit... and well, what would the word be? Particular, I think is probably the word we'd use. Be quite particular. Maybe if I was playing this album, I'd probably like to stop after Brother Love's Travelling Salvation show, because to go from such a bombastic ending to then all of a sudden 3 middle-of-the-road tracks, which there's nothing wrong with those tracks, but thinking it's the end of the concert and then having those bonus tracks as well, that annoys me a bit if you play it in sequence. But that's the only difference between the 2 of these. On the DVD as well, you do get a bonus featurette at the end, which, well, a special feature if you like, which is called Welcome Home Neil, which is a 15 or 20 minute sort of special feature looking at Neil Diamond going back to where he used to live as a kid, and that was nice, because obviously New York City was where Neil Diamond grew up, and more specifically in Brooklyn. What's interesting here is that this is probably the longest live album that Neil Diamond has done, certainly the longest Hot August Night live album to that point. The original Hot August Night was about an hour and a half. That was expanded on the 40th anniversary issue, which I'm still yet to get my hands on. I haven't found that yet anywhere. The 40th anniversary CD issue, which bumped it up to 2 hours, and there's some really good bonus content in there. Love at the Greek was only an hour and 15, and I have to think maybe that both Love at the Greek and Hot August Night were maybe condensed a little because of the vinyl format at the time. Hot August Night 2 was only an hour and 12. I mean, that again, obviously this is a CD released at the time. So, again, I don't know whether this maybe could have been expanded a little, possibly. But sometimes you can say quality over quantity. I accept that. But this is a really enriched live show. It is a very good live show. It's a well-rounded set, no question about that. As I said, for sort of the first third of the show maybe, it's quite a greatest hit set. So it opens with Holly Holy, Street Life, Beautiful Noise, Love on the Rocks, Play Me, Cherry Cherry, and Thank the Lord for the Night Time. The perfect mix of those slower tracks and then a few real groovy tracks. And then we have a suite, 3 tracks that are all tracks from this album, Home Before Dark. And funnily enough, a couple of factors contributed me to me actually watching this concert back again, because I've had the DVD for a while. I've listened to this once or twice, but never actually heard the heard all of the above to the DVD. But it's been Glastonbury, the weekend just gone. I've watched a little bit of that, so I thought, I might want to watch a concert. And on Saturday afternoon, I also had a listen to this, Home Before Dark. So those all contributed to wanting to play this concert. And I think it's 3 of the strongest tracks that Neil picks from Home Before Dark. So it's the title track, Don't Go There, and Pretty Amazing Grace, which are great. Really enjoy those. And then, in a really nice touch, I think, we go back, at this point, 35 years, or 36 years, to Hot August Night. And this is just the geek in me that really enjoys this. And he goes back and pays a little sweet of Crunchy Granola Sweet itself. No, well, it's not a pun, but no coincidence intended there. Crunchy Granola Sweet, and then Done Too Soon. Obviously, the first 2 tracks from that famous original Hot August Night performance. That's a really nice touch to include those 2, because neither of those really are considered greatest hits, but to the fan who would have listened to the original Hot August Night, know those as 2 great live tracks. We then kind of continue the greatest hits haunt, really. I Am I Said, Solitary Man, Kentucky Woman, Forever in Blue Jeans, and Sweet Caroline. Sweet Caroline does go on forever. There's like, Neil stops, and then we have the last chorus again, then the last chorus again. Unfortunately, a track, especially now, even 14, 15 years later, that's been massively overplayed just in popular culture generally. And then after that, we have a really good duet with Linda Press, one of the vocalists, the female vocalist in Neil's band, of You Don't Bring Me Flowers, with a little bit of a can you call it corny stage set? Neil sat there with the flowers on the table. It's all a little corny, but I love all that stupid stuff like that, so that's perfect. Song Sung Blue, which is a bit more of a cheery one, I'm a believer, carrying that on. And then we have two of the tracks from 12 Songs, those being Man of God and Hell Yeah from that album, which are good enough, they're okay. And then the concert ends with Crackling Rosie, America, and Brother Love's Travelling Salvation Show. That track, as good as ever. So it is a good concert, no question about it. And the CD is good. The DVD only adds to it because obviously the whole point of a live album is to take you to the concert itself. I know effectively back in the 70s, etc., it was A, a greatest hits album in effect, and B, that's why the albums were bought so much. But obviously it takes you to the concert itself, and the DVD obviously takes you to that concert from a visual point of view. There's quite a lot of my favourite live albums, probably because of the time they were recorded in the 1970s, where there isn't any film footage of it, or certainly not a full video of the concert. One of those I'm craving to see in a HD format is The Wall at Earl's Court, Pink Floyd. That would be excellent to watch, not being there at the time, of course. But in terms of highlights from this, really, you've definitely got the newer tracks. They're all thumbs up from me. They are, what I will say very quickly about those two albums is they're very different in the Neil Diamond canon. Both produced, I believe, by Rick Rubin. I know certainly 12 Songs was. And very much more of an acoustic back to basics arrangement, which is good. But I feel I have to separate those two albums from the rest of the Neil Diamond catalogue. I struggle to, because I have got, for example, on my iTunes, a playlist of all the Neil Diamond tracks I like, live, deep cuts, warts and all. And it is tricky to include those in that because, well, I guess you could say that's relevant with the 80s stuff as well, because that is a little bit different, but not too different. This stuff is very different, but positive all the same. But a little bit more back to basics, which is good. It's nice to have seen Neil Diamond went in a bit of a different direction after a couple of misaligned albums, let's say, before that. Other highlights from this, Brooklyn Roads is excellent. Bit of a conversation about Neil's childhood before the song, which is nice. Crunchy Granola Sweet, Done Too Soon, which I've already said, and You Don't Bring Me Flowers. And then again, the end of the concert's great as well. It is really great. I think once you get past, and this is the difficulty as well, when I went in I thought, this isn't going to be Hot August Night, the original. Like all these things, we all get, I certainly do, you get so attached to what the original was or the best was, and then you think you've got to repeat it. Well, no, that's not the case really. Obviously Neil's vocals have taken a toll from 40 years of touring, there's no doubt about that at this point, but it's still certainly competent. You don't sit there like I did with Rod Stewart at the Queen's Jubilee concert and think, oh my god, just get off the stage, would you? It's certainly not that bad at all. It's certainly more than competent. And of course, talking about Glastonbury, this was the tour where Neil Diamond, I don't know whether he finished the tour or whether he started the tour. I feel like it was one or the other. At the Glastonbury Festival, headlining that festival. And again, we had the Sing Song of Sweet Caroline. Don't like that song. But yeah, just a really good set. As I said, it's not going to be Hot August Night, so I can't rate it at 5 stars. Hot August Night is the ultimate live album for me. Certainly in the Neil Diamond canon, absolutely. Worlds above anything else that he did. Although, again, I'm not such a fan of this. This is good, maybe a 3.5. But this is going to go above that. Hot August Night, New York City. Maybe because you've got both formats in there, but I'm going to rate this and this as well. As I said, a 4 out of 5. It's somewhere between a 7 and an 8, if you like, out of 10. So maybe 7.5 out of 10. But because I'm going to be quite nice today, I'm going to give it a big 8 out of 10. And just before I finish it off, the video, I'll just show you what's inside these two separate entities. So we have some pictures of the concert in the DVD, a bit of a write-up in there, which is all nice. A couple of pictures of Neil there in in action. Talks about the Glastonbury performance and the World Tour of 2008 and 9, spanning 9 countries, 67 cities, nearly 100 performances. The World Tour actually kicked off in Rotterdam in May 2008. So Glastonbury, I guess, was kind of midway in there, and some more pictures of the English, or British as we should call it, entity of the tour: Scotland, Birmingham, Dublin, and then pictures of the Neil Diamond Band, and again a bit more of a write up from Neil. So that's all good. And then a great picture of I'll tell you what, that's a really well timed picture. If that's not Photoshop, that almost looks too good to be true. And I mean, again, I think maybe this would have been a better picture for the CD. Maybe, I don't know, a bit nondescript, possibly. Anyway, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent. And then in the CD, I don't know if it's the same thing, because I haven't looked at the CD for a little while. Let's have a look at what's in this booklet. I think, yeah, the booklet for the CD is exactly the same as the DVD. There you go. I'd have never known. Obviously, with just the subtle addition of the different tracks, which obviously are a little bit different to what is on the DVD. But I would say, if you are a Neil Diamond fan, that this is definitely worth going to get. It's fairly inexpensive. I think that you can find the Hot August Night CD certainly fairly cheap. I think I had mine, if I remember, in just a CD bundle I bought from eBay. I've had 2 copies of this, actually. This is quite an interesting story for those of you who are sticking around for the bonus bits. The first one I bought of this didn't come with this slipcase, so I didn't even know it existed. It just came with the normal CD. But I bought a job lot, about 7 or 8 Neil Diamond, or maybe it was more than that. More Neil Diamond CDs, and included this slipcase. So sure enough, I put that on my original version, because the slipcase does, if you put it against Love at the Greek, for example, the slipcase does stand out a little bit in fact a lot, stands out a lot on the CD collection behind me, CD shelf. So there's that to it. I've lost my train of thought now. So that was obviously that. So that's fairly cheap. You can get that for a couple of pounds probably. Just beware that there is a Daily Mail edition that was mailed out with the UK newspaper that's got like 6 or 7 tracks, so you don't particularly want that. The DVD, whether it's easy to find or not, I'm not sure, but I just managed to stumble across somebody selling one on eBay. I think I won it for 99p, and then I had to pay a couple of pounds in shipping. But I think the DVD in particular actually is the asset, the form of media that's well worth getting, most certainly, because it does offer a point of difference to Neil Diamond's previous live concerts. But that's where we're going to end today's video. I hope you've enjoyed me talking about Neil Diamond, musing about Neil Diamond and this live album, which was a pleasant surprise for me. I hadn't revisited the CD in a while, and the DVD just added to that enjoyment. And obviously, if you aren't aware, I have done some Neil Diamond content in the past. Even my first video on this channel was a Neil Diamond video that's still the most popular video, back when I used to hide my face and just talk to the microphone. That was my first video, talking about 10 Neil Diamond songs that you must hear. I've done a couple of, I think 4 or 5 different Neil Diamond album reviews. I've reviewed Beautiful Noise, September Morn, Brother Loves Travelling Salvation Show, Help Me Out Here, Brain, 2 more, I think. I can't remember, Velvet Gloves and Spit was the other one, and I might have done a 5th. I can't remember if and what the 5th was. But anyway, there is some more Neil Diamond content on the channel if you are a fan of Neil Diamond. And I know that in the past, the Neil Diamond content on the channel has done really well. So there's clearly an audience for that. So hopefully those of you who are around for the Neil Diamond content are pleased that there is another Neil Diamond video on the channel. And hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more. I haven't been listening to Neil Diamond as intently recently. There's no negative reason behind that. But we all go round different artists. And because I tend to buy a lot of CDs, there's a lot to listen to. So inevitably some of the old classics, if you like, the Neil Diamond doesn't get revisited as much. But obviously Neil Diamond records a lot of albums, and hopefully in the future I'll be doing some more reviews of his albums. Hey, it might even be these 2 albums that I review next. And actually it'd be good to do these in a set, because this is probably a bit more raw, but they follow on from each other quite nicely. But it might be nice to review those in unison. But I think if I carry on anymore, I will be boring you. So I will say my goodbyes. Thank you for watching and listening. Maybe if you were only listening, but trust me, if you watch, you will get to see my ugly mug, and that might enhance the experience even more. Who knows? Thank you for your company today. I've been Toby Jones, and until the next time, I will see you all later on. Goodbye for now.